All right. Welcome, Andrea. Andie, how is it going?
Very good.
Good,
Very
good,
good.
good. Thank you so much for taking some time to have a little chat with me. I thought I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, if that's okay, just with regards to kind of my new renamed course, Awakening in a Rhythm, that you've now been part of for a while. So pretty much, how did you hear about this course?
So, like, me and you have known each other for a while, like for a few years, and yeah, we were chatting, and you were saying I'm doing you're doing some coaching, and yeah, you just said like, oh, I'm doing this because can I like just practice on you a little bit? I've got to. I've just got to like ask a few questions, part of my course, and there's no commitment or anything, but just chat away. And yeah, we had a chat, and I was like, yeah, no, I was helpful to Nina. I like answered some questions, and then I was like, wait a minute, that sounds amazing. And I was like, and then I just like kind of let it settle within me, because I was in the middle of planning some training and courses at the time, so didn't really have time commitment to do any training or courses. But the seed was kind of planted, and then I was traveling, and I think it'd been, I think with everyone, like 2000, 2001 were quite rough years, and I just felt like a nice nurturing space, and some coaching would be nice. And I didn't like, the year-long commitment was a bit scary at first, because we don't like to commit to things longer than a few months or even weeks as a course. But with that, the space of that year course, I knew there wasn't any rush to do anything. So yeah, and I didn't know I'd be here a year later, like wanting to go again.
I know. How cool is that? So kind of like, that's what I've done with like a lot of people. It's kind of just ask them, one, because it was part of the course, we needed to do what is called like an inquiry practice, just to see where people are at and what they're needing. And so kind of like also during that process, there was no pressure to, like jump on board. But what like eventually made you decide that this was like cool? Like, yes, Nina said it's a year, and like you were saying, a year is a long time to kind of think like, okay, well, let me invest in myself for a full year. So what kind of like, was there something that kind of just said,
Yeah,
this is what needs to happen?
I just think it was that realizing. I think I was also working on a year-long course at the time, like, because I'd come to that realization, like, of doing teaching short workshops and courses for my business size wasn't working for me. Like, I feel like I wanted to go deeper with clients and students, and so I was trying to create a little bit of a lengthier process where you really embody it and really understand something, and working with the wheel of the year. And then when you said this was a year-long course and you go over the same things, I thought, that just resonates with me, like that's what I'm trying to do. And I thought, well, let me go through the process myself as well.
I think that's such a good point, because I mean, obviously, like I've been coached as well, and then I thought, well, this is such a brilliant, concept, kind of like way to operate. But it's so hard to bring it to your clients if you actually haven't experienced the process or been introduced to the process yourself. So
Yeah.
that's exciting. I love that.
And I actually put my course on hold for this whole time, because once I started, doing those inquiry calls with you, I realized that, I wasn't in a space to give. I was needing I was just wiped. I was just so tired all the time. And
because you're a mom of how old is Willow now? 5 year, 5-year-old. So I mean, that's a lot of energy and time that goes towards a human being.
It is, but it's like everything. If you don't have the energy yourself, you don't have, you're all just like dragging each other through. And especially with my, my creativity as well, it was just like a little bit stuck, and yeah, a little bit hard. So I just kind of wanted something for myself. And I think, you know, after a rough couple of years, I was like, you know, I'm going to do this for me. And yeah, and make a few changes.
So then I would love to know, because I mean, you've been with me for a year now, and we've kind of like done the habits. It's not like they're anything challenging or scary, but what kind of like shifted for you? Kind of like maybe for you health-wise, what shifted with you in your relationship with Joe, your husband, and with Willow, and even with your work? Did you notice any kind of like changes or shifts in those areas in this last day?
Yeah, so I've been doing a bit of like self-reflection this last sort of couple of weeks, because we're coming up to, like, you know, finishing the year. And I had to sit down going, oh, like, you know, I was thinking, oh, nothing's changed. And that was my first, I was like, nothing's changed. Like, my life's still chaotic and things are still. But then I realized how automated and ingrained the changes are. So I had to sit down, like, you know, with my husband and say, like, what has changed? And I realized like so much has changed. It's just become so part of my life now. I didn't even notice, you know. So, and that sounds like it's subtle but also powerful. So, when I was looking back through my notes, when I just wanted to be creative again and have that real connection to creativity and be able to flow a little bit more with that, rather than this stop start, you know, like every time you're sick or you know, school holidays, everything just grinds to a halt, and then like I, you know, lose myself a little bit and then try and find myself. You know, I've had a lot more continual creativity, and the, you know, the stuff that I've produced, like whether it's work-wise or personal creativity, has been like huge. You know, like I can see how much I've actually produced this year, like, and that's in a productive way, but also that I feel like I've got space to do that. The other thing is like my mornings. When we started this, I was like, I'm not a morning person. I've never been a morning person. I'm not going to do all these things in the morning. And
did I ever force you to do anything, or was it like
nothing's forced? Nothing's even, everything's always like find your own way of it. Like this is your own interpretation of things, but it just naturally has fallen in. So I was just this morning, huge chaotic, like life is still chaotic, right? There's not, the chaos is still there. That's fine. But in the chaos, I woke up quite naturally, actually, early, and everyone was asleep. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I knew it was going to be a busy morning. And I just went and sat and did like a nice 10-minute meditation. And then when that was over, everyone woke up, dogs, cat, everyone quick, get ready. It was all the craziness, but I had the calmness within me. I had the resilience and the heart connection to cope with it all, you know, rather than like, and then also I'm like really like I hydrate now with water first thing. I couldn't even touch a coffee or a tea in the morning now.
And one of the things you said, I think right at the beginning, was like, Nina, I'm not going to give up my coffee. Don't tell me to stop drinking coffee, I think.
No, to be honest, I have not. I still have a coffee, but I'll wait till like the right time. I wait mid-morning. And it's like just one coffee, you know, not every day, but like it's like, this is nice and I enjoy it. And it's not it's something that I enjoy and I choose to have rather than I need it. And that's a huge difference.
That's a massive, massive change, where it's not a crux that is supporting you. It's like with a lot of people, you know, they're often, or at least also for me, kind of like, you know, you go for the sugars, the you know, the sweets, the chocolates, the biscuits, kind of like at that 3-4 o'clock slump, or coming home after work and you have your glass of wine because you think that's what you need to kind of like calm you down. And actually you realize that those are all just kind of like little crutches that hold you up. And if you actually find more supportive ways to navigate those challenges, you can still enjoy, you can still have a piece of chocolate cake, you can still go out and have a glass of wine, but you're not using that as the support to get you through the day.
I think that was one of my first things that shifted in me, because when we did having earlier lighted dinner, and And then it was the big thing, like closing the kitchen after you've had your evening meal. And then after 6 o'clock, it's like nothing else. And you're like, oh, no, that's not going to work for me, because I would always wait for Willow to go to sleep, and then I'd get the snacks out. Might be some crackers, might be some chocolate, might be a cup of tea. And that would be my me time. And like, oh, but I need those things at that time because that's me. And then I did a lot of work with that. I'm like, what do I need? What is it that I'm really craving? And that was the thing, when we have cravings, it was like, but what am I craving? What am I getting from this? And it was like, I just need a little bit of me time, space, and nurturing. And when I realized, okay, so I might need a nice peppermint tea instead if I'm like still wanting something. Or I started doing at the beginning like massage or a hug, or just need to sit and just doodle or draw, or, you know, rather than sort of like sit in front of the TV and just eat chocolate. And it was a hangover from sort of my early postnatal days, when that, you know, that's what I did a lot, you know, which I think is okay to do when you've just had a baby. But, you know, 5 years in and I'm still doing that. I'm like, maybe I don't need.
Maybe it's not really necessary anymore. And I think what is so nice is kind of like when we give ourselves a year to make the changes, it's not like this crash diet or something, you know, that we're going to do now in 4 weeks or 6 weeks, and that, you know, but actually, like you just mentioned, like, you know, when you had to think about, like, you know, what are the changes that actually really happen, but it's just ingrained into you over the last 12 months. It's like, it's just so subtle, and it's I mean, for me, it's so wonderful to see like how vibrant and alive, and, you know, just, you know, this enthusiasm for life there is again. And because it's so subtle, you know, often we want those, you know, those quick changes, but when it's subtle, it's just, and it becomes part of our life, it's there for life. It's not going anywhere, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I have a lot more balance now. Everything's a lot more, you know, it's not that you don't have ups and downs and good days and bad days. It's just one of the biggest things about the course was, because it's not the quick fix. It's not a wait till Monday to start the diet, or it's not wait till Monday to start my yoga practice again. It's you have an off day where you didn't get the things you did, or your routine kind of as it was, but it's, you start again tomorrow. You can actually even start again that night, you know, like if I've had you know, an unhealthy lunch, or it's like, well, that's okay, I really enjoy it. You know, you it's a choice, right? I chose to have it. You know, it wasn't like my, you know, this willpower, and you think it's nothing to do with that. It's actually, I chose that I wanted this, but then I make a different choice. I'm going to have just soup for dinner. And that's it. And then and allowing that space, and I've created that space of an evening, like, you know, the intermittent fasting, so I'm not cramming my body with stuff, and realizing and if I do that now, and yeah, and occasionally there is, you know, some snacks and stuff in the house, and I will do that. And if I've had, like, you know, family meals, or it's not as satisfying. It's, you know, you don't feel like you're missing out on anything, and it's not, because I'm not, you know, if I want the things, I can have the things. It's just a choice rather than,
Yeah. And so kind of like, because I love what you're saying with that, in the sense that, you know, it's not about being hard on ourselves, or, you know, lambasting ourselves, you know, like that we need to have this perfect tendency, like I need to eat perfectly, and every meal needs to be an earlier lighter dinner, or that I need to meditate every morning. But it's kind of like doing those things more often than not. And when we go out and have pizza for lunch, or whatever the story is, we're not going to have that feeling of guilt. Do you find like the way you kind of like speak to yourself has changed over the year, that inner dialogue that we often have?
Yeah, it's yeah, I'm a lot kinder to myself, a lot more, because I still, you know, I've done a lot of work with like self-acceptance and kindness and self-care, and I realized that I wasn't yeah, I wasn't going as deep as I needed to, you know, like, and it was actually the deeper into self-care was actually kind of less, you know, and just add in these little subtle things in my life. So, I mean, we've talked about like diet and food, but that's not what it's about either for me. A lot of it was about, you know, time and space and to create, and also just the vitality in my life. And yeah, I've done that with a little bit of, you know, diet changes. But a lot of it is, yeah, not beating myself up, you know, it's, or feeling guilty. There's no guilt,
Yeah.
you know,
And
and
kind of
yeah,
like,
if
what, sorry?
no, so like if we have a late night, or, you know, I don't get to meditate in the morning, it's like the world's going to collapse. It's like, well, I'll do it tomorrow. It's fine.
Mm.
And I will do it tomorrow. It's not like the I'll do it tomorrow kind of
Monday
attitude.
start, yeah.
Yeah, I have to do everything perfectly as well. That was the really big thing about, you know, I liked your analogy. It's always like we go for a B minus, you know.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it just, and then the questions you'd always like ask us when we did that, like, what can you realistically commit to this week? Like, how many days? And you're like quite specific, you know, like how, you know, so if I say, oh, I'm going to meditate all this week, you're like, when are you going to meditate? How long are you going to meditate, and how many days are you going to meditate for? And what happens if you don't do, you know, it's really like, you're like, well, I've got a really busy week, so I'm going to commit to like a 3-minute meditation, like 4 out of 7 days. And then when you do that, you're like, well, that's a win, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because it's also kind of like when you make it so realistic, when you know what's happening in your day and you make it realistic for yourself, then you can't really fail because you in the realm of realism. If you just think, I want to meditate every day for 20 minutes and your lifestyle doesn't allow for that at the moment, you're just building yourself up for failure. Anyway, we could definitely go on and on about that, but I'd love to know, like, with everything that we've kind of like covered in the course and done, what one thing do you think is kind of like has been the most insightful or the most valuable for you that you've taken away this year?
The power of a group.
The power of a group.
I think so. The group dynamic. Because all of this stuff that we're doing, it's not new. It's not new to us. It's all the things we know we need to be doing in our life. It's been not just the accountability to everyone in the group, but just that connective energy that you're not doing this on your own, and the support of other people and their wisdom, and feeling that you can partake wisdom. So, you know, with the course, it's not just like Nina sharing the stuff and we follow. It's a dynamic group, and I mean, it's been really beautiful, and that, you know, all the people on the course, you know, you feel very connected, and yeah, very connected to, and you know, you want people to grow, and my growth has become because of them, and
they're growing because of you being in the course as well. It's such a be like everyone's in the soup and everyone, it's, you know, it's turning into this fabulous stew. I think that is so
like
lovely.
no one's left behind. No one's left behind.
Yeah. It is such a powerful thing. And I think unless you've actually been in a group like that, it's really hard to explain it. It's like a concept that is so foreign because I don't think we really experience it much in our day-to-day life. And I think that's one of the big things that people are really missing is this like really good connection. I think, like, you know, obviously with COVID and everything that happened, I think people have been so isolated, and just having connection, but connection with the right type of people is so important.
And it's not like, so to explain, it's not like a group course where, yeah, so it's not like a leader and that people are sitting there with their videos off and just listening and making notes, because that, you know, I've been on that and it's isolating, you know, like I came here for connection and it's not that, you know, or even you could do an in-person one and just people are just sitting around not properly engaging. But when you individually connect with each other and are vulnerable, you know, you've got a safe space that you can be vulnerable with each other and share, you know, like, it's a really nice group. So what I was saying is that it's not, the group dynamic is, in a group, sometimes you want to feel like you've been doing your best. You're like, oh, I did this today, you know, and this is the kind of place you can show and go, I didn't do well today. And everyone's like, oh, it's okay, you know, like, what can you change, or why did you feel that way? It's so nurturing and supportive that, you know, even when I've traveled, or I think I even, you know, we was in Tanzania and I managed to call in, I was at the beach, we managed to call in, you know, I've managed to make, even though you could make like, oh, well, I'm away this week, so I'm not going to make the course. We've managed to, you know, and that's because you've also been traveling and you've managed to like find connection in the middle of the bush, and, you know, so rain or shine, we're all there. So
exactly. You kind of just make it work. It doesn't need to be perfect. You just need to show up, pretty much. Yeah.
Showing up is huge.
Yeah. So I mean, like, you've had such lovely shifts and changes in this year. What made you decide that, okay, cool, I'm in for a round 2, I'm gonna stay on for a second year? Because it's pretty much gonna be the same work again. And you know, nothing's really changing.
That's the beauty of this stuff. It's not as I say, it's not a quick fix. And a year is not a long time, actually, to make huge shifts and evolve as a person. So yeah, I'm not ready to leave. And because the way the course is structured, it's staggered, so anyone can join any cycle. So the content is, you know, repeated 4 times, I can't remember now, throughout the year. So there's been new intakes, and so I feel my role is to step up and still be supportive. I feel like I'm still committed to the people that have joined in, and to go over the work again. As I say, it's not a learning course that you learn and then you go away. It's a continuing repetition, and that's how we evolve, just by repetition. And you know, you come back to the work with a new eyes. I'm like, well, it's going to start again with the basics, and I'm like, but we always need to come back to the basics every day. You know, it's like, even with like a yoga practice, it's like, some days you're just going to roll the mat out and just stand there and just go, I'm just going to stand here and just see how that feels, you know, like, oh, I might stretch my arms a bit. It's having that beginner's mind every day to life, I think. And yeah, so that's why, you know, come back.
And I think, because like what you said so beautifully, is like, there is always chaos around us. We're never going to get away from chaos. Chaos is there. It's kind of like universal potential energy. It is there. And it's just us finding and connecting with that, like that inner rhythm that we've got, that is connected to the universal rhythm, and to pulsate with it and not to fight with it. Because when we can feel that we're able to move with it, then we grow that resilience, like you were saying a little bit earlier. And then when the shit hits the fan, you know, we're still here, we're still capable. We might flutter a little, and we might, you know, get a little aggro, or whatever our, you know, ways are, but it's not going to be as crazily as it was a month ago, a year ago, you know, 5 years ago, because we have practices in place that we know just help to keep us.
And you adapt. I mean, the chaos is always there. And I, you know, I mean, I've been doing meditation and yoga for, I don't even know how long now, 20 years. And my meditation practice has always come and gone, and it's never the right place. And obviously in the last 5 years, with, you know, a small human, it's really hard to find time and space to sit and meditate. But it is there, you know. I don't need an hour's meditation. I don't need half an hour. I actually need 5 minutes. And it's like, oh, is that? And recently I was like, and also because we have like listening partners and stuff, and I was like, I want to up my meditation. And the question came, was like, well, why? If it's working, just sit with it for a little bit, you know, sit with it for another couple of months, and then go a little bit deeper. And like, so, you know, some days my meditation, I do get to sit outside on my own with a warm cup of lemon water, meditate to the birds. And other days I sit up in bed, put my headphones on, the dogs are jumping on me, the child is jumping on me, the chaos is happening, but they just know to kind of, I just let it go, you know.
Yeah. You don't react to it. So yeah, lovely, lovely, lovely.
I'm there for 5 minutes, they can all cope.
Exactly. And it's so empowering to be that, where it's like, this is just my time and space. You're welcome to be here. But this is me. And it was the same kind of like when I first started and I was getting on my mat and doing yoga and meditation. I'd have the dog come and he would come and lick and this. And like with time, like after a month, when he realized this was just the rhythm that mom is in now, he would just come and lie down. Like it just happened. But if I would have got upset the first time and tried to shut him out and then have scratching at the door and then I would have given it up.
Yeah.
But you kind of just got to like plod along with it a little until kind of like everyone sinks into your own rhythm and pulsation, and then it's becomes so much easier in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Any other last parting pearls of wisdom, insights that you would like to share with anyone?
Yeah, I suppose the whole thing is when you're doing this work, because sometimes you try to do it, whether it's a healthy eating or getting into better routines, meditation practice, you kind of want, especially if you're living in a family, you want people to kind of be accepting of it and join in, or like, and it's okay to kind of go to your own beat, find your own rhythm. And then naturally everyone has shifted, because if I'm cooking, the food is there. If you don't want to eat it, you can heat it up and have it later. This is when I'm eating and this is what I'm eating, and everyone's quite accepting of that. If they don't want it, then they, my husband will request something else, or he'll go and make something else, and that's fine. I don't have to be responsible. Obviously for my daughter, but it's a perfect time. We eat early. The morning I do my morning exercises and my meditation, and sometimes the others join in, and that's okay. It's like they flow in and out, and they know that's what's happening. And sometimes it turns into a family event, and then sometimes it's solo event. You can't be accountable to the other people around you, so that's why.
Your 2 cents worth. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. Always so lovely to connect with you. And I look forward to sharing it with others. I think a lot of people are going to get insight, and it's, obviously I would love everyone to, in a sense, join this course, because I think it's just so fabulous. But it's not about that. It's just about like, if you need to find connection or the right group, like if you want change, you need to get into a group that is moving in the direction you want to be moving. Otherwise,
it's pro-nurturing growth. It's not you have to change. It's like very, very subtle. I said I had to look back and think, what has changed? And you realize how much has changed. It's just so organic.
Yes,
it becomes ingrained. So it's not like you have to change everything in your life when you do this course, just tiny little things, baby steps.
Love it. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.